Hello, everybody. So it's not breaking news anymore, but Kaiten, one of Samurai's skills, was removed from the game with the release of patch 6.1. Potency adjustments were made to compensate for it, along with guaranteed criticals on the hard-hitting actions. But is it okay, and what does it mean for the game going forward? And that's what I want to talk about in this video. So the removal of Kaiden reignited a debate which has been within the community since 2019, as far as I can remember, and not many people are pleased with it. The reason which was initially given to us for this change was to reduce the action bloat. Now, in my opinion, this is both true and false, but it's more false than it is true, if that makes any sense. Because while the bloat is there, removing Kaiten doesn't really lower it as much compared to when they removed Merciful Eyes back in the day. There was another skill with that, an offensive skill, which was available to you once the barrier from Third Eye broke. So that was something which mattered because honestly, Merciful Eyes was garbage anyway. So that makes sense. But removing Kaiden doesn't really do anything to reduce action bloat. What it does do, however, is that it simplifies the job and the rotation to a certain level while making it accessible at the cost of its identity. It's a change that I'm pretty sure wasn't asked for, and it does little for the job in general. Like, it does little to nothing for the job. I don't main Samurai, but I play the job often enough, and never have I thought that, hey, maybe we should like remove Kaiden because it's like too difficult to press an extra key before I'm like doing a Midari Setsugeka or Namikiri or something like that, right? So, since they tried to balance this by adding guaranteed criticals and adjusting the potencies, there's a good chance that we really won't be seeing that much of a difference in the numbers that Samurai is gonna, dish out. But that's not the argument. That is not the problem. Now, looking at both sides of this situation, removing Kaiden itself has zero effect on the functionality of the job. And in my eyes, a change that doesn't make a job functionally better or worse is nothing to be concerned about. Of course, like if a change is making it better, then that is something that's always going to be welcome. But if it's not making it any worse in terms of functionality, then it is not really a concern. But this can also be a problem itself. Why? Because oversimplification. Each job has been overly simplified one by one, and this kind of kills the reward of playing it and the satisfaction you get by executing things properly. And I think this can actually have adverse effects on the game's population over time. But there is more to this argument, and I'll get to that later. So, simplification is like, what if I told you like I don't play Black Mage much, right? But we all know how Black Mage operates. Like, if anyone has played the game, they'll pretty much know how Black Mage operates. Imagine if you didn't have to do half the things Black Mage does right now. That'll make your job a lot easier, right? Those are the kind of changes that are happening right now with Kaiden and everything. And there are several other examples as well. So right now in the short term, muscle memory, of course, is going to be something that will be impacted. Because honestly, if you're a samurai main, I'm not sure how this, affects your muscle memory, but having to press a key before each Midari Setsugeka or Namikiri or Higanbana, your dodge skill, it's pretty much ingrained in your memory right by now. So not having to do that anymore can kind of like throw you off, but people can adapt to that real quick. Now, even Yokupi talked about this in his live stream where he read the patch notes, and one of the things he said is that if they were to continue with this idea of not changing things, then they won't really be able to change anything. Like, of course, there are changes that are asked for and changes that are never really talked about and are not needed. But the idea over here is that unless you make a change, you won't really know how it affects the game, its elements, and whether it is received well or not. That is something to consider. The second point is satisfaction, and I mentioned this earlier as well. Now, this is something that I believe is subjective, like difficulty debates in other games and stuff like that. This is pretty much subjective. Anything that is based on your own sense of gratification, in a way, to a degree at least, is subjective. However, that does not mean that it cannot cause problems. Personally, the way I see it, removing or severely dumbing down a skill or a system that is at the core of a job is the only thing that can impact how much fun and satisfactory a job is. Like I said, Black Mage. If they were to change its core and make it more simple, it would really affect how people view the job and how they feel about it. Like there would be a massive backlash, and that is what that is pretty much a fact. Regardless of this subjective nature, though, the real issue over here is the growing trend of simplifying jobs and roles. In the past, it was tanking, and today it's Kaiten, and honestly, we don't know what it will be tomorrow. It could be anything, right? But one thing this also, opens up the door to is like these simplifications, they can possibly form a base over which new systems, advanced systems and stuff like that can be developed and implemented. That is the way I see it. Like that's one way of seeing things. The trend of simplification started with the release of Shadowbringers. I began playing the game in Stormblood when patch 4.2 was live, and tanking back then was entirely different to what it was in Shadowbringers. Can't really say how things changed from Heavensward to Stormblood, going into Stormblood, because I wasn't playing back in 2015, of course. But the way tanking has shifted is one of the most drastic changes in the game. Another example are the cards of Astrologian. Now, of course, they removed the technical points gauge, the TP system from the game, and the way I see it, they probably adjusted the cards to sort of, mesh well with the new combat system, like no TP, MP was universally, balanced, the values were balanced and stuff like that. Now, there could be other reasons, I could be wrong on this, but that's just what I feel. And the way Astrologian worked in Stormblood, what cards it had to use, and when, those things added an extra layer of skill or things that made the job engaging and just made the healing role itself fun. Like back in the day, I used to play Astrologian a lot, and over time it just went down. But that is one thing. And the shift of tanking, like back in Stormblood, you had to manage your enmity, your aggro, and you used to dance between stances. Like as a warrior, you used to pull in Defiance and then just cement your aggro and then dance into Deliverance and just, alternate between that. People used to even tank in Deliverance all the time. Stuff like that added more, layers of skill or engagement to the jobs. I won't deny that this is true, that this layer added more skill. However, right now, this simplified system is still very much functional, and I like it. Straight up, I like it. It's good. Just because something is simplified doesn't mean you can't like it. You can't really be blind to whether a change is good or bad, but you also can't deny the functionality. And while Square has made several changes over the years since the release of Stormblood, they have been functional for the most part, yet they remove some aspect of skill and effort. And that is like a really gray area when you think about it. Because right now in the short term, it's simplifying stuff, but it can open up possibilities to more, advanced things in the future. Of course, this can pretty much just be Kofian, but it is a perspective to think of. Like it's one way to look at things. Of course, I won't deny that having variety and different levels of difficulty to gauge each job is good and adds more flavor to the game in general, but like I said, that's just another way to look at things. Yeah, like, we also have other examples like Summoner, right? People say it's a controversial revert, and I can only say that right now it's at a point where an elementary school kid could pick it up and play it well. Simply. Like, I started playing Summoner back in Shadowbringers, and it was fun and engaging back then. And right now it's fun. It's pretty much fun, but it is, of course, it is really simplified to a point where at first I didn't even recognize the job anymore. But it was fun. Right now, it's more about taking away something that felt good, was fun, added some flair to the job, and you know, we just got used to it, right? And that's pretty much what it's about, rather than the removal actually impacting Samurai in a really bad way from a functionality standpoint. Expect more changes like this down the line, but in my 5 years of playing the game, nothing has been as drastic of a shift as tanking was. Like how tanking went from being in Stormblood to where it was Shadowbringers. Like, that was pretty much it. The good thing here is that Yoshi P and his team listen to player feedback. And honestly, you can't really argue with me on that. Straight up, you can't. Why? Because they changed Living Dead and Bloodlines. Now, whatever the cause may have been about it, for it, they did it. They made the changes. Whether they were reluctant or not doesn't matter in this scenario. Why? Because they made the changes that the players have been asking for. Which means they do listen to feedback, to a degree at least. And they do. So, I would say that in general, this whole deal with Kaiten can be a problem, and I do not agree with these pointless changes that take the flair element away from the job, like in the short term at the very least, and just makes them more brain dead than last time. However, I am trying to see the possibility of a bigger picture over here, that maybe these changes can open up, doors to better combat or better systems overall in the game as we go into 7.0 and whatnot. Like, maybe they could just maybe they'll just change the systems to a degree once the next expansion drops, like we did with Shadowbringers. Who knows? But that's pretty much it from me. That was my take on the whole simplification trend, because we have tanking systems, we have Kaiten right now, Astrologian cards, and so many other examples, right? But that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. And yeah, that's it. See ya.